What up, though? What up, though? What up, though, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes with your girl, Nina Payne. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, this show is about events. So, what happens before the event, during the event, after the event? Who are these dynamic professionals who manage all the thousands of details to make these events happen? And then, how do you navigate the business of events, the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs? Today, we have an amazing guest. So when I decided to move from entertainment management to corporate event management, I knew the person to call. We had met years ago when I was always impressed by how he presented himself. He's the ultimate professional in the event production space, knows all the people and knows all the things. I got a chance to sit down and talk with him about all things events and how he navigates the business of events. Please enjoy our conversation with Troy Springer, co founder of Elevate Production Group.
I'm feeling the love. What's
Hello.
up? I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling the love.
You
Thank you
see, I
so much.
use good people. You're a good people
Yes,
person.
yes,
You use
yes.
good people
Please pay
all
that
the
forward.
time.
Pay
And so
that
if
forward.
Troy doesn't say, "What's up, good people," and slap you really, really hard on the back, then he doesn't love you. So
It's a love tug. It's a friendly love tug. You know what I'm saying? I'm
I
sending
love
all the
Doug.
energy to the next person. Come on.
What's up, Troy? Welcome, welcome,
What
welcome to All
is
Things Behind
up?
the
What?
Scenes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you. So proud of what
I'm
you're
so
doing.
excited.
All of this looks good, feels good, sounds good. I'm comfy, cozy, and ready to chat it up with you.
I feel like you should be a radio personality yourself. Like
No,
you have
no.
all of these sayings, you like to break out in a song every once in a while. If we're not on a production together and you don't break out into a song, then I don't know, something must be wrong with you.
Look. You can always count on me to buzz your ears, right?
So
It's
let's
all
get into
good.
let's get into it. So you're a co-founder
Yeah.
of Elevate. I want to say Evelabate. I don't know where it came from.
Okay, that's okay.
Elevate Production
And
Group,
that
and we'll
syllable.
I'm going to add a syllable, and we're going to talk about what transitioning from corporate production services into
Yes.
Elevate Production Group, because there's a new name, and I think we need to talk about, sometimes that happens, right? You want to
Yeah.
kind of change your name, but I want to talk about you specifically in the event space. Like
Mhm.
you've been doing events for as I can remember. You were the person that I called when I made my transition from entertainment management to corporate event management. I
Right.
know a lot of people in the game. I was, getting out of the tour life, Hollywood life as I
Mhm.
call it, and
Mhm.
2 feet on the
Mhm.
ground here in the city of Detroit, and realized I didn't really have a network inside of the corporate event space. I
Mhm.
know a lot of entertainment folks. I know people in events, but your name popped up in my whole spirit, in my shanana,
Mm.
and I said, "I need to call Troy Springer." And I had your name on my phone from some other stuff we had done over the
Yeah.
years,
Mhm.
and I called you and said, "I am in Detroit. I'm 2 feet on the
Mhm.
ground, and I wanna work in corporate events." And
Yeah.
you said, "Give me a
Mhm.
day." You called me back the
Mhm.
very next day and said, "I got something for you." And that was the start of, many years of us doing things together. But I just want to say publicly, and I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it on the
Mhm.
first time on All Things Behind the Scenes is thank you. You're the reason that, we started Foundation
Mhm.
Management started in the corporate event space. You saw an opportunity, or you took the opportunity to help me.
Yeah.
Right, get established here, and you took a chance on me, and I don't know why you said yes. I don't really know why. We haven't really talked about that, on why at that point, because we had only done, like, some events, like,
Mhm.
even indirectly together. I don't know why you said yes, and you called me that day. I would like to hear that answer, but I just wanna say thank you, because if it wasn't for you, you know, being open and kind and having grace and allowing me to kind of work up under you and
Mhm.
learn from you, I don't know where we would be. So thank you.
Hey, you are most welcome, and thank you for allowing me to be in that orbit and be a part of your journey and your process.
Mm,
And I would really love to talk about the genesis of that, and how that all kind of came about, and how we moved that bad boy forward. You talked a little bit about where you had came from in that transition,
Mm.
And being in the industry, you automatically know that what you were doing out there, very translatable to what we have to do on the corporate side. We
Yeah.
already knew you kind of keep all the balls in the air. You knew what it was like, what deliverables were, what they meant, how to and how to identify them. And when you kind of mentioned you wanted to kind of come into this space, I almost wanted to tell you, you don't even need training wheels based on what you've been doing out there on the road, for all those years. So it was great that you kind of floated a little birdie out to me, and like you said, that's like, I know that we can come up with an opportunity with everything that was kind of floating in our orbit. And if
Hmm.
we get if do we want to talk about that first,
Sure, absolutely. Because we're still
so
working on that, working with that client today.
today
Absolutely. Yep.
today.
Hmm.
And it just that's how collaborations work. And it's
Yes.
just like when when you see you have an opportunity to onboard somebody with your skill set to help complement where we needed it. It was right there at the right time, and it was kind of like extra. That sauce that you have is what we needed to kind of help move this client forward, because it's with the Detroit Public Safety Foundation.
Hmm.
When you've
Shout out
done
to Patty Kakula.
yeah, who you've done amazing work for and work with, and that skill set tied in with your background in nonprofits was
Hmm.
was right there on the money. And it was, I would say, in startup mode almost, back when we
Yeah.
started working with them. We
Hmm.
knew what the on for us, we knew what the end result needed to be for this, for on the event side, what needed to be executed. But there were a lot of things that they were trying to onboard, you from raising money to kind of
Yeah.
raising awareness to kind of what they were needed to do.
Hmm.
And you need to kind of recognize when you're not holding the right cards to deliver to that client, but you saw that they have a need. So that time that we took, that day, it was just like, hey, I got an idea. I got an idea. And
And you're exactly right, because they were in the middle of trying to figure out even how to, develop processes, procedures, and operations for the department. And so I was able to kind of
yeah,
lend some expertise in that area as well, because I have a background in operations. And so
yeah,
you really kind of brought me on as project manager to kind of
yes,
help. At that time, the executive director was Kathy Govan, may she rest in
yeah,
peace,
yeah,
and bring things to fruition so that we can have a bigger outcome on the event. And so I was able to
right,
kind of put some things together, tie some knots, dot some i's, cross some t's. And now that Patty Kakula is at the helm of that particular nonprofit, Detroit Public Safety Foundation, they are doing even more things with the community
hmm,
and helping to support police, fire, and paramedics and EMTs outside of the city budget. Yeah, we're doing some amazing, amazing things still. And this is 7 years later.
yeah.
And
And
so
and us as as a
that's
team,
crazy.
has helped to kind of move that forward in
Mm,
a very intentional way. And you could see a lot of the fruits of your labor and your DNA, moving throughout that entire program. So hats off on just diving in with both feet and
yeah.
putting in a lot of those hours that can go unnoticed.
Mm.
You put in hours around it that some people just don't appreciate it. They ain't even aware you put them in. You know,
It's
so to
part of
kind
the
of look,
course. It's part of being an event person, right? One of the things I
Nina,
talk about is that we put in countless hours and sleepless
yeah,
nights, and it's
yeah.
very ever changing management. And so, if you're going to be an event professional, then that's just part comes with it.
But that's one of the most important parts, because you have to be invested in the outcome. You have
Hmm.
to care about the outcome, and sometimes that outcome of have you roll up out the bed and put your laptop back up, like, let me make sure, or let me
Right.
check this, or did I
Right.
say
Then the team gets emails at 4 or 5
we
in the
had?
morning, like, what is
Yeah,
she
yeah,
doing? They're over
yeah,
here shaking their head, by the way, that,
yeah. It's because part of it, could be even make 70-80% of it is just caring about the outcome. Once you
mm,
care about the outcome, once you invested in that piece, everything else,
mm.
really does kind of fall into place. If you the type of cat that you see something spelled wrong on a graphic and you don't say nothing, guess you're not gonna last long.
Mm. Those are, I mean,
You,
because I was gonna ask you about the characteristics of being in event management, an event planner, event
yeah,
production, and you talked about caring about the outcome. I think it's the first
yeah,
time we've heard that in this, like,
hmm,
and it's so key, right? I'm
yeah,
invested in how this turns out. So whether that means if we're on site and there's garbage on the floor, whether they're like
absolutely,
all of that, like you have to be
absolutely.
invested in that.
You
What
know,
other
and
type of characteristics do you need to be in this line of work?
I'll say one more thing is that one of the things that kind of drawn me, into the corporate space, because you love being a part of another organization's strategy. They obviously have a hardcore objective that they want to move forward, and it means a lot to their career development, your client as well. And it's just
Mhm.
like when they win, you kind of win. And it's just
Absolutely.
like they kind of they've put in they've put a lot of responsibility in your hands, and they're trusting you to kind of help them move the ball forward. And
Yeah.
so I'll continue to reiterate, kind of having an investment or ownership into that project, is key.
Mhm.
Also, understanding the true of what because it leads you to being a better partner. um, you
Mm.
know, you don't have to oversell your ability to provide a good service. When that client calls and you can see that they have some anxiety, it's time to kind of hash that out and kind of help them understand what you're going to do to mitigate, to alleviate that type of anxiety.
Hmm.
And you start to realize it's like you you've done a lot of events, and sometimes for someone who may only who has done a few, your client, sometimes that anxiety can run really high,
Yeah. Yeah.
something like, yeah. And you don't want to make it seem like you're blowing anything off that they may feel, just because you kind of been in so many different scenarios and situations
Yep.
that it's like, you can explain calmly, how you're gonna make this happen, how you're gonna work it out, and let them know that, don't forget, we got you. We
Right.
got you.
We got your
We
back.
got you. Yeah, yeah,
That's really key because when you're talking about building your client's trust, right,
yeah.
in you. Oftentimes you're talking about thousands of dollars, hundreds of
Mhm.
thousands of dollars they're spending on this
Yeah,
event for a particular outcome. And
yeah,
they're bringing on you as a partner, event
yeah,
partner, right, to
yeah.
help with all the stuff they don't know and to reassure
Right.
them that, we've got this. Like you don't have to worry about this over here. We're going to carry this and we're going to make sure you get to the finish line. And that
Hmm.
is an unspoken thing that happens throughout kind of your showing up and your dedication and your loyalty and your encouragement
Exactly.
and you answering the phone and you sending an email back in a timely manner. Like all of
Yeah,
those things add up to building a
yeah.
trustful relationship.
Absolutely, and and it's one of the things that I will value in a client, whether they are, if they're spending $100 with us or $100,000 with us, if they appreciate the effort that I'm willing to put in, and that is meeting me halfway. I like to engage. I do like to build relationships. I do like to be considered a
Mhm.
partner or someone that you can call, whether you just need a microphone and a speaker set up someplace, or we need to do something, out of town or in a large theater. I want to, I guess it's love at first sight with me. You had me at hello. You called me to, help you out. Let's go. Let's build a lifelong partnership relationship between our organizations. And then sometimes I
Yes.
find myself even being turned off by drive by prospecting. Like, I'm no Tinder date. If you just sending
Ah!
me an email to say, give me a quote on this, I don't want to talk to
Right.
you, I don't want to meet you, I just want a number. I'm not really drawn to you
You
that
want to
way.
be
It's like,
courting, do
I
you?
want to get to know you. Where are you at geographically? What just to give me a two sentences on, give me a number on this. You just this is like what the young people call it, Tinder. You swipe left, swipe right. If we don't match, I get it. I get it. I'm looking for something deeper, something
Yeah.
meaningful, something. I'm a
That's
I'm
all.
a I'm a relationship kind of provider. So that's what I need.
And that's
Yes.
funny because I think we have the same kind of synergy in
Yeah,
that regard. It's like
absolutely.
building deeper relationships, becoming a real event partner,
Right.
where we're doing the full portfolio of events as opposed
Right.
to the one offs. You know what I mean? And it's not a monetary ask; it's just getting to know
Mhm.
the client. Like
That's it.
understanding, the ins and outs and what you want and how you're growing and what your marketing
Yeah.
looks like, and company culture, so that we can do a
Yeah.
better job in managing
Exactly.
your event. And so it's super
'Cause
important to do that.
that relationship will pay dividends for them because they'll start to see a return on that investment because
Absolutely.
we can bring to bear all these other experiences we've had on other events and bring them to bear on individual clients. Like, hey,
Mhm,
let's try this, let's do this,
mhm.
and we have a seat at the table. It seems to work out a little better. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Hmm.
Agree, agree. So in this event space,
Yes.
events are still on the top 10 list of the most stressful jobs in the
Okay.
world.
Yeah.
And the unparalleled kind of stress, right? We're always
Yes.
managing change after change. Oh, it's
Yeah.
another change and another change and another change.
Hmm.
The sleepless nights and all of the different things. And so why do you why are you in events? What is it that you like about them?
I really think it's that for what you just outlined in the stressors. I was probably drawn to it, like kind of like, maybe a moth to a flame and kind of having a little bit of a sports background. Maybe I was looking for some of that, that adrenaline or that essence of being a part of a team.
Mhm.
And, something about, you kind of have one opportunity to kind of get it right on some of these
Mm.
corporate.
Oh, that's
It's not
good.
it's not a Broadway show, and where you miss a cue, and you be like, Tony, don't worry, we got it. You get it in the matinee tomorrow. It's like, no, we kind of out there. We kind of out there for the one hitter quitter.
Huh.
And I like being able to be a part of that process and find ways that and strategies that have probably grown throughout, have been developed over our career to just kind of help us, get through those
Mm.
and make those a lot more palatable. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
The
I'm
A
probably
Moth to a Flame. What hit wonder? That
I'm
I
probably
think that
just
those are
drawn.
interesting concepts.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you a story. Just almost on that note. Okay, so I remember when I was young, probably 12 years old, a little bit
Mhm.
younger, and I can't remember the name of this movie. Tom Hanks did a movie with to the young folks out there, Jackie Gleason, who is an actor who probably have not been with us for the last 20 years, but
At
uh,
least.
Jackie Gleason was Tom Hanks's father, and I remember watching this particular movie as a young boy. And Tom Hanks's job was he was in a creative space. He was like an ad executive, and
Mhm.
I remember how cool his job looked. It was in the city. It was in a nice office, and he was collaborating with these people on just ideas, creative ideas, funny, sad, emotion. And I was like, wow, can you really make a good living doing something like that?
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, if I could do it, I wouldn't mind pursuing, something like that. And but I think it's in our community. We are sometimes we can be raised kind of pragmatically, like you want to go get a job, work on that sucker for
Mhm.
30 years, get you a nice little pension. And so
Mhm.
I went through undergrad and grad school, in search of probably some one of those traditional kind of jobs where I
Mhm.
would be in just like this corporate setting from cubicle to corner office kind of deal. And I had the fortune where someone invited me out to be a freelance or a contract work on a large event. It was a
Mm.
large corporate holiday event, and I just saw what I had a chance to get paid for those 3 days of work, and it really didn't matter after that because I was still in school looking for a way. But
Mm.
went out and did that, and I had kind of a really good time being on site. I had no idea, how the folks planned the event, how it came together, but I just know I was
Yeah.
out in the mix,
Mm.
watching the band perform and telling people where they need to go, and it ended up being even sort of a side hustle. Even when I got out of undergrad and was working professionally, they would call and say, "Hey, Troy, you want to come and help us out with X, Y, and Z?" I was like, "All right, no problem."
Right.
And I finally took a look and I was like, I said, I see this company, is doing well and kind of making a
Mhm.
living. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel like that safe of a space. But I grew to learn a little bit about, some of the strategies that they use to acquire clients, and what they would who they would serve and who they would not serve, and learned a little bit about the revenue model, and I felt comfortable engaging the industry, and that's kind of how I got in. So it was a little bit, kind of mostly by accident, in a way. It kind of
Mm.
found me. And I was even nervous that I even felt comfortable with taking that step into it. I was like, well, this seems to make me happy, kind of being a part of this kind of work. I was, at the time, I was young enough where I remember the professor telling me, is like, look, just find something you like to do by the time you're 40 and do it for the next 20 years. So you got
Mm.
a whole lot of time here to make as many mistakes and start a job, end a career, and vice
So
versa.
so so did you start your business or start in developing a business while you were undergrad in college or after
No,
your master's? When did you start the a
I,
business?
I didn't engage this industry until after my master's degree. I felt like that was a good enough. I was doing it freelance. I was like,
Mhm.
I got a pretty good safety net here, where if it just doesn't work out, come right back
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
and employ this degree. So I took an entry level job with a company that's providing a lot of the same services that we do now, and did that as a junior employee, junior sales executive for about 4 or 5 years. And
Mm.
that length of time, that owner retired, and at that time gave us an opportunity to either go find something else to do, or you could take the clients that you have and start your own company. And I became an entrepreneur by default, because I said, you know what, I've got this smallest book of business in the company, but I still like doing what I'm doing. I'm talking about small. If I showed you how small that book of business was, you might get a tissue out for yourself and be like, oh
Well, you
my
turned it into something a whole lot better than that
you
over the
might
years.
yeah,
So you
you
told me
might
you were a
say,
sales executive at an event production company.
yeah,
They gave you an opportunity to take
you got to put junior in front of that.
junior
I
sales
worked at a desk
executive.
in front of everybody else. It was like,
You was in a cubicle,
yeah,
customer
exactly.
service rep. And then you took
Yes.
that and you were able to convince those clients to say, "Hey, trust me, I'm going to be your new event production company." Like, is that how it went?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
worked.
Yes. Taking every little scrap, crumb, whatever you got, I'm your guy.
Mm.
Loading up my little envoy at the time. You know what I'm saying? We was getting it in. We was getting it in. What do you need? So I was doing everything from from A to Z. So it was,
Wow. That's
yeah.
pretty so you went straight from master's degree into an event production company, and then that
Mhm.
production company retired, and you were able to kinda start your own company that way.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
did you know how do you at that point, you know event operations, you know sales. I mean, you may know event production, you know sales, but how do you know how to run a company?
I had borrowed some strategy from what I had learned there in those 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I'm sorry, almost 5 years. I had really borrowed some strategy from them, and it was just, so it was the revenue model, and then it was the kind of the idea of prospecting and presenting what you could offer.
Okay.
And I knew, so that company was much larger, so I knew it was going to be hard to convince someone to, like, yeah, absolutely, I can handle a multi-day conference, 2,000 people. I knew at that time that wasn't my lane. I had established some pretty good relationships working on a certain echelon of events.
Mhm.
And, I was like, hold on to those, for dear life, because it was some of I was, like I said, a junior exec, and some of those small events, um, where might be just sending out, one acoustic, guitar player to
Mm.
entertain some folks at lunch.
Mhm. Mhm.
These are really, really, really small. But the people that I had stuck with me, and one of them in particular, I always give her a shout out, Crystal Williams. She was at
Mm.
General Motors at the time, and she tossed me, she let me, blessed me with a project, and really kind of built a bridge, where I kind of had enough to kind of make it 3 or 4 months.
Mhm.
Um,
She did
because
for you what you did for me.
Yeah, because with that timing, some things could have went sideways. Some things really could have went sideways within that 3 or 4 months.
Mm,
So that kind of building that bridge, that revenue bridge, kind of help get over the hump, and I could really
nice.
sell, the idea of me as a viable entity, and
Okay.
use a couple of projects that as validators.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
ho
yeah.
so then how do you and let's just talk about, how do you move around in the area? Did you see many people that look like you in corporate event, production? How do you manage that as a Black man in this field?
No, no, and no. No, I almost
It's
was gonna
funny, but
pull
it's not
something from
funny.
Bishop. I was gonna pull something from Bishop Bowinkle, but I'm not gonna go there. But no, very, we're more than underrepresented in this space still.
Yeah,
And you have, and it was bright lights like Krista Williams, working inside those organizations that tried to be intentional about giving us opportunities, and we
yeah,
needed that. But it's like what you do with that opportunity is paramount. There
absolutely.
is We have, like, I mean, it goes for any event plan. There's no will room for failure or blunders or mistakes. But I think that the work that when we're in that space, I know we're under a different kind of microscope.
Mhm.
And it's like, if you don't build up a track record of successes, um, you know you just want people to stop being surprised that we can pull off the work. You know,
Mm,
you
mm.
just want them to stop being, whew, yeah, they did it.
They were
You just,
surprised.
now and so, fast forward to this point where, our expectations on our organization are a lot different. But it's like, it was tough to convince them to give you, um, number one, in opportunity. Number two, some of the larger ones that you saw floating out to, some of our other contemporaries in the industry,
Yeah,
quite frankly, structured the same way. You know,
yeah.
so
And so you say even now that was, how long ago? And even now, you finding that it's just not as diverse as it should be.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I have seen some improvements, but we you know let you know
Yeah.
we walk into those industry rooms, and yeah, we still have some work to do. Still got
Yeah.
some.
Work
Yeah.
to do.
Mhm.
But I do, I'm thankful for you and kind of how you move around
Yeah.
and, paving the way for, for companies even like mine and those coming behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being not only represented from a black or diversity perspective, but just
Mhm.
black women in
Yes.
higher in production gigs. I walk
Mhm.
into a room and generally speaking, I am the only person of color in that room. And,
Yeah.
it's the sideways, like, what is
Yeah.
she, can she, it's always that kind of thing. And I'm always feeling like I have to like, really give it to you. So you'll
Yeah.
know that,
Yeah.
I'm not playing around here. And,
That's right.
thankfully people have taken chances on the skill as opposed
Yeah.
to, anything that has to do with what I look like or that I'm a
That's right.
woman or anything like that. And so I
Mhm.
think both of us being able to pave the way for others coming behind us is super important. I don't think I even realized that. That came out my mouth.
No.
In that, being in these rooms and making these moves and, kind of,
Mhm.
being on the person of color is an example for, others
Yeah. And you
behind
and
me.
you and you and you're putting it down out there. I mean, you're doing fantastic work in the space. So, you know.
Well, it's because I always ask you questions like, Troy, what do you think about this? What do you think I should do about that? You think about the staffing thing that I'm doing? What do you think?
Mhm.
And I still have
Mhm.
yet to have my
Mhm.
2023 sit down with you. So we're going to be doing that
Yes.
shortly.
Come on.
So, we talked about the characteristics. So just let's talk about some just in detail. When you are planning an event, I know you are in business development and sales and marketing and
Mhm.
that sort of thing. What type of tools? It's a very kind of in the weeds kind of question, but what type of tools do you use to help you kind of keep track of all the things? So what do you do? Are you a paper notebook person, or are you a Excel spreadsheet person, or are you a Monday.com person? What do you do?
Ooh, Monday.com. I'm a notebook guy first,
Mhm.
and then after that, what do I like to do? I do like to. It's weird, but sometimes I just kind of thumb through my contacts on my
Mm.
on my on my on my phone, and
Mhm.
because I say always save numbers, from events that I've done, 10, 12 years ago, and it'll just jog a memory of like what we did or what I did with that person. Let's check in. It'd be
Mm.
great to just kind of touch base, and sometimes just a friendly text, or hit them up, have a couple chuckles, is what I like to do. I do like to continue to send out olive branches. I like to keep open lines of communications. I like to, kind of stay connected with everyone,
Yeah.
kind of worked in the space. And then I just kind of, it just usually happens, from there where, all of a sudden he's like, maybe the timing was right that I called, and he's like, we,
Mhm.
got a project we want to bounce off. He was like, all right, yeah, go ahead, make it. Let me hear it.
Right,
Let me
right, right,
hear it.
right. I
Whatever
think that's
happened to this
a
project, or where did that project go?
yeah.
Just kind of following the seeds that you've planted.
Mm. Yeah,
That's
put
what
some water on them bad
that
boys.
is something that just like love planting seeds, and that's just meeting new people and kind of staying connected with people that that you felt you had some energy, between you guys.
Yeah, I think that's a key point to make, right? In
Yeah,
those who are following our podcast, who are getting into the business, who are new, or just trying to build your clientele,
yeah,
that point of keeping in touch with those you know. I think, even with this podcast, the people that I asked to be on the podcast are all people that I've, known for
yeah.
years in this first kind of season. And so never, ever, ever, ever burning a bridge.
Never,
Those relationships come back at you like
never.
you would not
Yeah.
believe. You end up having to send an RFP to that person that you burned the bridge
Hmm.
from,
Hmm.
so and then keeping in touch with your clients on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Even if they only use you for one event, give them a call, shoot them a thank you note,
Hmm.
checking in with them. I think that's a,
Yeah.
that's a really good point to make when trying to build your business. Let's talk about your most challenging event that you've done and why.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? I tell you which one kind of comes to mind is when we started doing Marine Week with the United States Marines.
Mm, mhm,
And so basically what that is, the concept is the Marines would kind of come in, kind of take over a metropolitan area and do, I would say, about 2 dozen, community related events, demonstrations, in that city.
mhm.
Um, so all of that seems pretty straightforward. We got the event side down. Oh, you want to go, paint a mural someplace? We got you. But the twist is that they do a simulated, what they would call, it's called a MAGTAF demonstration,
Mhm.
where they do simulated gunfire and battle sequence with
Okay.
real helicopters, with simulated explosions,
Mm,
uh, folks parachuting down, out of those helicopters onto the surface, and this whole
okay.
sequence that needs to happen. And thank goodness they kind of choreograph a lot of that. But what they need is someone to go communicate to the city, that we're
We
bringing
about to
tanks.
start shooting up stuff,
Exactly,
blowing stuff up in the middle of the city.
exactly.
Ah.
Exactly. And all of these things have special needs for how they have to be transported, how they have to engage, and explain to this to Detroit City Council or Charlotte City
Mm.
Council, exactly what's happening, and for them to just sit back in their chairs, it's like you guys are
You
gonna
gonna
do
do
what?
what?
You gonna do with a real tank that's coming through the city? I'll say okay, okay. That's obviously something folks really got to talk about, right?
A little bit, little
So,
bit, little bit.
yeah,
So
and
what's the difficulty? Is it just like the logistics
difficult. So
around all of that?
we have to marry our expertise that we have event professionals and use that to kind of educate, the city on
Mm-hmm.
how, on what the plan is to kind of bring these things in safely, educate the public on what they're going to be hearing, and that everyone's going to be safe, and and then communicate on behalf of the Marines,
Mm.
as well, for them with the city. So kind of being that conduit, being that liaison, because there were a lot of difficult things to coordinate, because jets kind of flying over in a certain sequence. Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
means you're not only connecting with the FAA, local airports.
Mm-hmm.
So and just it's a different space for someone who is planning projects, meetings and events, to be
Mm-hmm.
in. But
Mm-hmm.
being able, but having relationships, and knowing how to communicate to city councils, how to get permits, what needs to be communicated on those permits, is was key, and that's what the Marines leaned on us to do, so they
Mm.
could kind of focus on kind of choreographing how these explosions and activity kind of needed to happen. So that was a
Wow.
challenge. It was a because it's not a process that moved fast. You couldn't go on there the day of and get all of it, get all of this approved. No,
Yeah.
this included lots of sidebars, lots of extra meetings, and then but in those processes, different relationships are formed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Different relationships
Yeah.
are formed. Like, you'll never forget somebody that came in and then asked you, and told you they were bringing tanks and Blackhawks, and you always get that look like that. Yeah, I remember you. It's like,
Right,
yeah,
right, right. It's such a
yeah,
specialty space. And with
yeah,
it being such a challenging event where it has its, just it's left and right turns, I would imagine that it's probably some of the biggest lessons learned, like, having to kind of know how to navigate those
yeah,
spaces and things that you'll
yeah.
be able to take into all sorts of other new experiences, right?
Mhm. Courage is one, especially when you roll forward
Mm,
and we get to in the coronavirus land, right?
mm,
Which I think it's probably the impact that it's had on our industry has probably changed it. It'll in a way it'll never be the same. Even though a lot of things that we are used to are back, some of the in-person things. But
yeah,
thinking back to when we had to find out how to communicate like you and I are doing right now,
yeah,
how we had to put these events and programs inside of laptops.
yeah.
How we
Mhm.
had the things that our clients were kind of used to us being delivered on that experience, to kind of put it right to a set of eyeballs on the screen. And so there was a whole learning curve that we were building that plane while flying it. And
Say that
we
again.
know yeah we know those first forays into those experiences. I mean, they didn't feel like the hottest thing you've ever done.
Mm,
One of the weirdest things to me about working in that space is that once you've been in with a live event, and we know when it's showtime and the ballroom is buzzing, and you
mhm,
make sure everyone's in their proper places, and you
mm,
say, all right, we're ready to go. And then the lights change, someone comes up to the podium, and then that energy between everyone around you is just, let's do it. You do it
yeah.
in this virtual space, is like, all right, go. And you just look around and you're just there in a room by yourself. And you're just like, this is foul. This is
This
not even
sucks.
cool. This is not even cool. Like, where is that pizzam, that zip zap zippity doodah? It's just like, it
So, I
was
mean, but
very,
that helps me to well, let me slow down. So
yeah,
let's talk about that because,
yeah,
I haven't talked much about kind of the pandemic and COVID and kind of our transition as event professionals during that time. It was such a pivotal time. Um,
yes,
and and it and so much so that a lot of event companies didn't make it. There are people who had to go leave the entrepreneur dream alone and go back to
yeah,
work and,
yeah,
they weren't able to pivot, right?
yeah,
And be flexible and then learn if you don't know the virtual space or live
mhm,
stream, which is what we were doing at that time. And so we were able to pivot. If you didn't know that stuff, you had to learn it. You need to become an expert
huh,
really quick. And
yeah,
and if you're gonna be able to compete with the big dogs out here who are
mhm.
doing the thing, how did you guys transition and what was that like for you?
Pivot is the key word.
Mm,
And just going back to, I remember some of the some of the early news that was kind of coming out is like there was somebody out there saying that we'll be back to normal by Easter. We'll be
They was
back.
lying. The
Okay.
truth wasn't in them.
Oh, and and it's just like that is something that you wanted to believe, and that kind of information, I think, delayed our pivot.
Yeah.
It's like is- right now. I mean, we at that time we didn't know that much, but once we
Mhm.
saw that that was inaccurate, we
Mhm.
knew we needed to make a hard pivot and a hard pivot pretty quick. But one of the, I think one of the things though too is that when I what was kind of semi comforting is that we found a lot of ourselves, even our counterparts in a very similar space. Is
Mhm.
like these tools that we use on live events, cameras, recording video. Some we had the tools around us, but never used them. Where we had to put someone, kind of in a room and have them, stream that message out or
Yeah.
communicate that audio to an audience that you can't see. You just look, and that you're just hoping that someone got that joke, at their house. You're just hoping that somebody ain't got up to
You
go
can't
get
get a
the
live
Amazon.
chuckle.
You hope somebody went to go get that Amazon package off the porch during your keynote, because you didn't, because as the process went on, more interactive tools and platforms kind of started to
Oh
come
yeah,
out.
they out of control now, but then it was
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So until
Mhm.
those kind of started to come, it was very, it's very unfamiliar spaces. You didn't know how these things were landing, and
Mhm.
events that may have lasted. My son just said hello. Hey,
Hello,
bud.
son.
You probably coming to brag about his bracket, probably. Michigan State won. Oh, okay, cool. He said the Sparties won.
That's what's up. Congratulations.
So and it's like so learning kind of how to navigate that space.
Yeah.
And even what I was going to say is how long they even needed to be, like if you had a conference that lasted a day or multi-day, yeah, that's out. you know
But
that is
but
out.
remember, people were trying to copy and paste, and so
I
we taking
know,
a live
I know.
event, and they
Yes,
wanted to make that live event on virtual, and you're trying to convince
yes.
them like that is not. You don't need 15-minute breaks between sessions. Like
No,
they just got to
no,
click a button and go to the
no.
next room. They don't have to walk down the
Exactly.
hallway, up an elevator, down the other
Yep.
hallway. They don't have to do any of that. And so,
Yeah.
like the learning curve of it all on both sides, those
It's
of
on
us
both
on the
sides.
planning side and
Absolutely.
the and especially on the client side, they could not fathom like, what do
I
you mean
know.
we don't need to give
I
a
know.
break, or what do you mean?
Exactly.
No, we
Yeah.
can go right through all in one
Yep.
day. Let's
Yep.
go.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So you guys were able to get on the other side of that pretty easily, and you're
And
still
then yeah,
maintaining.
yeah, we made it through it, and yeah, we got really adapted, at doing it, and then also in the early parts of COVID, it didn't really have a traditional backup, like in the live event, if kind of a microphone goes out, here's your backup's going to be right here, and you just kind of quickly move on. You kind of depending on a utility, the
Mm,
internet,
yeah.
to kind of, and everyone else's internet to be
Mm, mm.
even you're bringing in presenters, and it's like you I mean, I remember we were doing something with Andrew Young,
Mm,
brilliant
mhm,
brother. But we
mhm.
we we had we did a rehearsal with him, and his room was quiet. He was sounding good. It's like, oh man. I said, I was even joking. It's like, man, you're like a tech guru by now. He's like, well, yeah, I've had a couple
I've
of
done this.
these.
I've done this a time or two. Yeah.
Yeah. And we get to the event, and he starts, and all of a sudden you hear this dog yelping in the background that just wouldn't stop.
Mm,
I was like,
mm.
okay, forgot to ask the dog question about all pets. We had covered everything from his lighting, his internet strength, not to have anybody else online when he was trying to do this stream, and
Mhm.
forgot about little
Forgot the daggone dog.
that's, and the dog yelped all the way through. I was like, hey,
The
this
whole time. Nobody
is
could
what
put the dog up though. Just
this is what it is. You
yeah.
could see him doing, kind of that in the back. But it was like, hey, he's like, we, just let's just
You
keep it
you
going.
know what started to happen though is that people started to get way more forgiving. Like grace was often given and still is in these internet
Ain't no
spaces
question.
because we just just, your son walk into the frame or somebody walks
Yeah.
behind you and the thing,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Yeah,"
Yeah.
and we like, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
okay. We un
Yeah.
we understand. It's
Exactly.
okay." That
Exactly.
started to happen. We started to get a little bit more relaxed with, the things that could happen. They were just so much out of our control. So, instead of stressing out
Yep.
about it, just kind of embracing this is just
Yep.
where we are. And this is the
Yeah.
kind of space, that we're in
Yeah.
right now, right?
But I do think, yeah, it is. I hope people are continuing to appreciate, kind of being back in person.
I
Um,
think they do. I think we're getting back to events, right? You guys are busy, we're
yeah.
busy, all the things are
Mhm.
happening and we're
Yeah.
moving forward. Let me talk a little bit about your transition because I know that
Mhm.
corporate production services is
Yeah.
what I remember, and that
Yeah.
you guys made a huge transition and changed your name coming out of
Yes.
COVID. So
Yes,
talk
we
about why
did.
you did that and how things are going.
So yeah, originally the company was CPS, Corporate Production Service, and had been that way for a long time. The name was very comfortable, and it was, even though it was, it lacked some sizzle. When you heard it, you kind of knew, what we did, and so
Mhm. It
I
was very
thought that was,
safe. Very
yeah,
safe.
yeah.
That's
I thought
like that's all I need to
it
say.
was very safe, kind of relatable. And as we really started to kind of move forward, and there had been some mentions from the team, like, should we consider a rebrand? Should we
Mhm.
consider a refresh? And kind of while you're humping, into the day to day, it's kind of something you're like, yeah, but how hard is it to kind of come up with a name and go through the process? Well, coronavirus kind of helped slow that down, and so, you know, it's like let's take that rebrand idea off the shelf and put it here and see what we kind of come up with. And it was a team process, and we started to, the typical kind of wordplay.
Mhm.
And one of them that kind of stuck with us was elevate. And we pulled it from, we saw it in a few client testimonies, actually, kind of looking at what folks had mentioned about us, and so
Hmm.
you helped elevate this experience, or you really elevated our program. As like, you know what, um, I like this because we can also use it as a mantra, as a
Mm.
reminder of what we should be trying to do as we approach these projects.
Oh, I like that.
Very
Yeah.
intentionally. So that's like, and just being, I think we all embrace that, and I think it's been a pretty fun experience.
Mhm,
Kind of
mhm.
reintroducing ourselves, because it does kind of start a different chapter. Because when you kind of think about CPS, you will remember, like when I alluded to before, running around in my envoy, like this was,
The
it was a
progression of
different
it all.
company. It was a very different, company at the time. It was just like, you talked to me and only me from the beginning and the end to the end of the project. So, and so it shows, Elevate shows the evolution, of the company. It allows us to kind of share, some of the projects that we have, been a part of,
Mhm,
since
mhm.
that start, and that needed to be amplified, and give people a fresh look, of what we have,
I
really been doing.
I like the name. It takes me a minute to remember the name because I'm just so ingrained in all of my
Look,
spirit is CPS, and I still have to change all your information in all of my address books.
I'm trying to
Because you're
tell you,
just Troy to me. I gotta do the whole name
I
thing and
I'll be honest. I really, I pretend like I'm open to change. I have to really pretend. It takes a lot of work for me. Like, when you joked about Monday.com, that's one thing our team has really been pushing is
yeah,
Monday.com. I was like, can
and
I
you're
just
not a
text
fan.
you?
Can I
It
just
just took
text
me a
you?
while. Yeah, it's. I see the value in the tool. I do. I really do.
Mhm,
And it
mhm.
just kind of takes me a while to kind of step into there and start to make the notes and you notify the people. Whereas you they had me pulled along, but
I
I can
feel
do
your
it.
resistance, and I had
I
to
can
talk
do it.
to the
Yeah.
team about that. I mean, we all have we have our
Yeah.
various tools, and they don't work unless we use them. And so, like, it is difficult, right, to
Yeah.
kinda transition into this whole thing and blah, blah, blah. The more people you have
Mhm.
on your team, though, the more centralized your information needs to be, the more streamlined your information needs to be, so
Yeah.
everybody's updated at the
I,
same time. And so,
that's
I
right.
know we get that importance, but
I
kind
get it.
of managing
I,
that change.
I
So
get it.
so congratulations on your transition to,
Thank you.
new branding, with a little more sparkle. Um, as we get to a close, I wanna talk about you've been in business for how long now?
Ooh, don't age me. Don't age me. Yeah, I think now, right about 17 years.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm,
That's what's up. That's what's up.
mhm.
17 years. We had to celebrate, your
I should.
milestones.
Hey, look, I don't take it for granted. I
Yeah.
don't take yeah, I don't. I don't.
I mean, to be in this business for that long, I think is commendable. It's commendable
That's
because it's not
yeah,
easy.
yeah,
It ain't easy. Crash of 2007, 8, 9 was
that's
a
right. That's right.
beast. And then COVID, we're just fortunate and blessed to continue to be doing this type of work and,
Yeah,
on the other
absolutely.
side of
I
it.
agree. I
So
agree.
tell me what in business, what do you think your biggest learning lesson or biggest mistake was and how you pivoted or learned from it?
Biggest mistake or biggest action that helped me move forward.
Mhm.
To me, they're almost kind of one and the same. To where sometimes it's you get this sometimes there's a bravado that sometimes comes with entrepreneurship. That's sometimes it's not necessary. You feel
Mm.
like you got to take on the world by yourself. Like, I don't need you. I don't need this help. Forget you. No,
Mm.
I'm gonna do this. When I go
Mm.
to the mountain, I'm gonna be standing by myself, and I'm gonna take in all the glory, and it was misplaced energy. It
Mm.
was it was probably showed a little bit of short sightedness, and I've shared this a few times before where I was at one of our own conferences, and the keynote just he made this statement. He's like, man, Bill Gates only owns 25% of Microsoft, and he seems to be doing okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. He
Mm.
doesn't seem like he's struggling. And he was in that message. It resonated with me because I felt at the time like, oh, maybe it was kind of how I was birthed into the business, and just kind of feeling like I had the chip on my shoulder. Like I gotta show these people I can do
Something to
this.
prove.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
gotta show them like, no, I got this. And who needs help? So allow me to do the next kind of self reevaluation and explore the opportunity of kind of bringing on a partner to kind of led me to doing so.
Yeah.
And it's kind of someone who had been right under my nose. Eric Jocks, and
Shout out to Eric Jacks. What's up? Good
what up?
people?
What up? Yes, sir. And him and I had some experience together at the company, and when things kind of had broken up, he had done something different, and I had stuck with the events. And as that job that he had taken, I think he realized he missed the event space and wanted to hop back in,
Mhm.
and we just kind of came together, and it was just like, I don't know, old times in a way. It was like this is
Yeah.
it was just like it was like the piece that had been missing,
Yeah.
and it was nice to share some of that heavy lift, and us have nice two distinct lanes to kind of work in, but those can also merge at any
Yeah.
given time, and the key ingredient he was invested in the outcomes for these
Mm.
clients.
Okay, come on.
This
Let's wrap this up as we started. Being
Yes,
invested in the
full
outcome.
circle.
I can tell you that and I mentioned this to you before. You having a partnership that's lasted this long, that's so super effective, that works is just super rare. Like it's just a gem to watch. You guys kind of do your thing, the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
The way that we work together. I know what Eric is his play,
Mhm.
his space and what your space
Mhm.
is. It just works, and I'm
Yeah.
hats off to you guys for,
Thank you.
doing this and not letting ego get in the way of destroying said partnership because that can
Mhm.
easily also happen, right? We're
Mhm.
getting older now. We do need each other. So
That's right.
I am excited about,
Mhm.
elevation production group. What's it called? Elevate production group,
Elevate Production Group.
formerly corporate production services, and all that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
I appreciate all that you've poured into me and foundation
Thank you.
management and our team. You can call me anytime for anything about wherever, and we
And we
will
just getting
be
started.
there, Johnny,
Yeah.
on the
Come on.
spot.
We just getting
So
started. Come on.
we just get started.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Are you retiring?
No. I
Never?
don't want to. I've thought about that. That's like, man, if folks are still willing to have me around, I'll get the cane out. I'll come on out.
So did I tell
I
you that I
really
was
do like to work.
retiring? I'm retiring
Mm,
in yeah, I'll be retiring. You want to buy me out?
sure, why not? Why not? Got something laying around here. I just pull out.
Talk about that. So
You
the
don't
team
want to
is like eyes
retire?
got
Come
big
on.
behind me. I have so many things that I want to do, and this takes up a
Okay,
lot of the thing of it. And so
that's why we need to
succession
have our
planning. I'm looking
yes.
to bring on some people, maybe part of the team. I'm looking behind the scenes here
Hmm.
and for them to take it on so that I can go and work and do some of the other things that I want to do. I'll always be a part of events. I think that's
No,
just in my
yeah,
blood. It's part of who I am. I like the development, the production, the project management of it, building blocks and all the things and that euphoric joy that I feel when everybody's having a great time. I don't think I can get away from that. But I do want to like explore some other things. So,
no,
it's
this
a
could
little
be this
fun.
could be a whole nother episode because the process that we work in,
Mhm.
it does open doors to other ideas. And sometimes,
Yeah.
even when someone has trouble kind of connecting to how our process works, and it's like, if you want to, relate me to, a home builder where I'm a general contractor, and the house needs
Oh, yeah.
windows, heating and
Mhm.
cooling, flooring, all the finishing. We kind of, we really help, bring that full experience together, manage the process, and a home is the end result. In this case, a successful business meeting is the end result. So that whole process of project management, it does, you do see viability in other ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't.
Absolutely.
I would be lying to you if I said I didn't. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
saying, Mr. Troy Springer.
That's right.
So tell everybody how they can get in touch with you if they need you to plan their big major multi-city next multi-track tour event.
Elevate Production Duke, elevateprodutiongroup.com, elevateprodutiongroup.com. We don't even have to say the www part anymore, do we? That's kind of
If you
goes without
do, then that's
saying.
gonna date you, and they're gonna don't do that. Anybody don't ever
www.
do www anymore. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes, T Springer at elevateprodutiongroup.com. If you want to holler at me, get at me. I'm so willing to work with you, get to know you. And hey, you get lucky, you'll be working with the both of us.
Yeah, if
Come
you want
on
to get
with
in
it.
touch, just get elevateproductiongroup.com. And
Hmm.
thank you, Troy Springer, for your support, being a partner, being a sounding board, a mentor in
Yes.
this space. I really appreciate all that you have done for foundation management. I really enjoy the person that you are. You're
Hmm.
good people because you always use the good people
Yeah.
term. And so you tend to cultivate other good people around you. And so
Thank
many,
you.
many, many blessings to you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being a part of our show.
And then thank you. All the best to you and everything that you are doing. I told you I love that newsletter. Keep that coming. Keep doing this. I love it. Everything that you're doing for your community and for this community as well. Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Troy. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes podcast, where we discuss all things events and entrepreneurship. If you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each new episode. You can also follow us on All Things BTS Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We welcome all comments and suggestions. So let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. So until next time, remember that the only thing that you can guarantee about an event and life is that it will change. Be blessed.